From Griffith University, I'm Nance Haxton, and these are Remarkable Tales. Born in Toronto, raised in Australia and living in Lebanon for nearly 2 decades, Elizabeth Kassab Sfeir is defiantly making her way on the road less travelled. The former president and vice president of Griffith University's Student Guild on the Gold Coast says this leadership experience, combined with her Griffith University business degree, opened up her eyes to social justice issues. She has defied gender conventions in the patriarchal society of Lebanon by rising to leadership positions in tertiary education and striving to improve opportunities for those she teaches. As well as taking on the role of Assistant Dean of the Business Faculty at Antonine University in the Lebanese capital of Beirut, Elizabeth is also expanding community initiatives to combat domestic violence and help support people with disabilities. She tells us on this episode of Remarkable Tales that her ongoing connection to Griffith University has been crucial in helping her break through institutional and societal barriers.
My name is Elizabeth Kassab Sfeir. I am the Assistant Dean at the Faculty of Business at Antonine University in Beirut, Lebanon. Proud Griffith alumni.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us on Remarkable Tales.
Thank you for having me, Nance.
Really appreciate it.
It's an absolute honor.
It's fantastic being able to speak to you in Lebanon. If there is one benefit of the coronavirus pandemic, it is that it has strangely made us all a lot more connected around the world, hasn't it, with these Skype connections?
I agree. It has. I feel like I'm a little bit closer to home. It's Australia and Griffith. It makes me feel good being so far away, but somehow being connected is really so important for us, being so far away from you guys.
Oh, it sounds like Griffith was very pivotal to your career progression from going from Australia to Lebanon. But how did you end up at Griffith University? What path took you there?
Basically, I suppose as you can hear, I was born in Canada. My parents left Lebanon right before the war. They migrated there. And then my parents wanted to do a business migration to Australia. It was a booming country. So I was about 14 when we came out to Australia, to the Gold Coast. And of course, being a Gold Coast student, Star of the Sea and then St. Hilda's. And I was sort of around there all the time. And when we got to Griffith, of course, Griffith was at a stage where it was just sort of booming. And I love the fact that, uni was so close to home. And I didn't have to travel to, let's say Brisbane, or even though the unis there are great, but Griffith was just like a step away. So I chose to go to Griffith because, of course, it was a beautiful campus at the time. And every time I go back now, it's just changed so much. And Griffith really did play a pivotal role. I chose to do the Bachelor of Business. And at the time, there was a double degree you could do via Nathan and Gold Coast, like a law degree and business. And when I got onto campus, I thought, no, I want to be here. It just felt right, as I walked onto campus. It just stuck with me somehow. And so I chose to do the Bachelor of Business at Griffith. And that's where everything kind of started for me. And it was through that it just kind of it made my way to where I am now. I got involved with the Student Guild by chance in the second year. Being in Australia, I really felt at home. It was different to Canada. Canada, I was, I grew up with a bit of discrimination, Nance, because of the color of my skin. And I didn't have the blue eyes and the white skin. And I hated the olive skin. I got to Australia and Australians made me feel that I was okay being who I am. And that's why I have such a kinship, because they said, oh my God, Liz, you've got such beautiful skin. And I'm like, really? And I love meeting all the international students at Griffith. And that's where it started. I got involved with the International Center. I made a lot of friends, the Sri Lankans and Indians and the Asians, and it was great. And I could share my culture with their culture. It was such a cross-cultural campus. And then I stumbled upon the Student Guild, and I met some of the students, and they said, why don't you get involved? And I said, yeah, but nobody knows me. And yeah, well, why don't you? And so I did this. I actually got voted in because, to be a part of that. So when I got onto the board, I was voted as vice president in my second year.
There you go.
And I was just like, So I was part of the Get Amongst It, did some editorials and got orientation going. And what I think was pivotal about that was that it got me connected to students. And we would go to orientation, and it sat in my mind how I would walk into the hall to speak to the first years and make them feel that, it's okay. I said, you guys are probably wondering, what should I carry? A binder, a notebook or a pen? I still ask that question now to my students and Lebanon, and they say to me, yes. And that's way back from Griffith, because I felt that was really important. And Nancy started from there. I went from vice president to president in the third year. And I was on university committees, and I got to meet all the wonderful people. We even went out there and we were like on strike for tuition fees for students. So, we were there kind of doing things on the ground, and that was really important. And then we built the Link building. It was during my time that we raised the funds to build the Link building that's actually at the Gold Coast campus. And as we were building it, we were using the students' fees, and we got sort of payment involved in that. So saying that it was built by the students for the students. That stuck in my mind, because it was about us as the customers, that we were involved in this. So what we wanted to be there, the first hairdresser, the first bookshop on campus. And when we opened up the Link building, I was asked to give a speech. And I remember standing up there, and I got to share this with you. Somebody who was a part of the team actually said to me, what makes you think that you could be president? And you're Lebanese, and in your culture, it's a patriarchal society. Right before I was about to give the speech. And it just, at 21, it was just kind of like, it's because I am a woman in the Lebanese culture and it's patriarchal that I'm going to show people that I can do this. And I got up and I gave the speech.
Gosh, that says a lot about you, Elizabeth, that you had the strength to do that. That would have been tough.
It was so hard because it was about 500 people. And you know what, they bring all the newspapers, radios, and, you go on to radio. And I was about to go on, and he just said something to me that really, really rocked me. And it's because, they particularly wanted that position. So at a young age, I learned how difficult it may be for me as a female, even in Australia. And you deal with things like, sexual harassment and stalking. And at the time, the pro vice chancellor allowed me to have a security guard. So I went through a lot at Griffith, and Griffith supported me and got me to give me the confidence, Nance. And that's probably why I wanted to share that we do go through a lot of things as women as well,
And that the support around you at those times is important, is what helps you get through that, so that you don't feel so alone.
And I wasn't. And Griffith was great that way, like everyone from the staff to the colleagues to the students, they were all very supportive. And so when I got up and I actually did the speech and I just said it was to the students, it just, every time I think back, and the image is so much there, and they put the plaque on the building.
And your name is on it, Elizabeth. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it just, every time I go back, I always believe that my leadership skills and making me the female that I am, to have the confidence, started at Griffith. It started there because I met those challenges, and it was important for me. And that was something that was asked by the pro vice chancellor as I was leaving and as I was graduating. He said to me, so where do you think you're going to be in 20 years time? I said, I don't know, but I hope one day I can make dean, and it's something that I never thought that I'd get into teaching, Nance. At that time, it wasn't in my works, I didn't know that I was going to leave Australia and come to Lebanon.
So, but you met the love of your life, and that was that move then?
Yeah, it was. And it was quite difficult, but I made it. And I tend to stick to what I learned when I was at Griffith, because I believe that in your bachelor's years, those 3 years, it's pivotal for each student, because that's where you're coming out of high school and you're getting out into into society. And so that's why I always say to them, it's a great place to be, because it allowed me to be who I am.
So you've got 3 children in Lebanon now, and you've risen as well within the university system there. You said you didn't even expect to go into teaching. What changed your mind or changed that direction, do you think, Elizabeth?
I'll tell you, as I got into teaching, Nance, and I saw the young females here, and as you know, with Lebanon, it's a very diverse culture. And coming here, I was absolutely culture shocked. I realized that women were not seen as they should be, but I didn't realize that much. Very much a patriarchal society. And being able to sort of get out there, I had to make my way. I started in the Faculty of Business with, he's currently the Minister of the Environment and Social Affairs. Demianis Qatar is his name. At the time, he had come in as, he was the ex-minister, and he wanted to create this School of Business or this Faculty of Business. It was right after the July War that we had. And when you live in Lebanon, you live with a lot of security and political issues. So on a daily basis, you really don't know what's going to happen the next day. And that's where you build your coping strategies and your resilience and doing that. Also, as being a female and wanting a career, you know what I first got told? I got told you should go teaching in a school. It's 7:30 to 2:30, and you can come home with your kids. That way you can still be with your family. Or why don't you be like a secretary or work in a bank? And I was just like, what? I did my bachelor's at Griffith, and I continued to do my master's. And what are you saying to me? Oh, yes, that means that you don't have to leave your children. It's about family. Even if a female here who kind of smiles and has confidence, it's like they kind of look at you in a different way. And it took me a long time for people to understand who I was, that I was this type of outgoing person. It doesn't mean that I was easygoing or that you could harass me. And to build that it took a long time. I even taught with the military. I volunteered my time because I couldn't get a job when I first came out. So there was a lot of hardships when but I continued. Knowing that I had to pay rent and I get through. It was about the determination and the perseverance. And when I would talk to my students, they would look at me and say, oh, it's not possible. When I get married, my husband won't allow me to work. And I went, stop there. Hang on a second. Let's talk. And that got me and that's why I joined then after the July War. I started as an assistant to the faculty. And as the years go, I worked my way up. And even to get people to look at me differently, I got my PhD, and I got it in what's called WASTA, which is about connections. People here, in order to get a job, you have to know somebody. And it's about a fight for saying, why can't I get employed for who I am and what I'm capable of, not who I know. And in Lebanon, it's everywhere. And I actually proved, I've done my research, and I'm now published, that over 55% of people actually get a job only through WASTA, not through just putting in your CV. And that's why I made HR my specialty. And I wanted to kind of change the face of the way people see HR here. And that's what I do in my classes now when I speak to students. And luckily enough, I've been able to do that. A lot of the young girls, when they sort of say to me, do you think I can do it? And I say, yeah, of course you can. But the culture and what would people think? And it's like a part of me, Nance, wants to keep on going, even though I'm the alien in the way that I vocalize. It's not just about feminism. It's about being who I am and allowing me to be who I am. I'm allowed to smile. I'm allowed to. You shouldn't think that if I laugh, I'm a fool. No, it's a cultural thing. It's really important. And I feel with these students.
Have you seen much progress in the time you've been there, Elizabeth, on those fronts?
I have. I got to share with you a number of things that I've been able to do. And that's because of my Griffith days, when I was involved in the cultural clubs. I've taught students how to do volunteer experience, created community service course. And we would actually get out there and we would raise money and go and visit women against domestic violence. We couldn't see the women, but we could support them. Children that have been taken away from their families, the refugees, working with people we have a lot of poverty here, Nance. A lot of people that don't, we have a high education, but we have a lot of people that are just not making it, and our economic issues. And as you guys would realize in the Middle East, there's with the Syrian war and Yemen, and it's everywhere. A lot of the young students here don't have a lot of hope. They keep saying, how can we leave? And what I'm trying to show them is that instead of leaving, what can we do to make it better? So I got them involved in that and used the skills from Griffith, created a mastering public speaking course to get them out there. And I kid you not, I had a number of young girls that would talk very softly in class. And I used my Toastmasters skills that I learned in Australia and my public speaking. And I got them out there and we'd have amazing classes. And they would say, wow, are all the Australian teachers like that? We want to go to Australia. I said, even better, even better, And they would say, we would be so shy. It's because of you that we now have the confidence So even if I could just affect 5 or 6, it means I've done something. And I've been doing that for a number of years now. Created a lot of new courses, the digital marketing. I created the HR concentrations. I'm saying a lot, Nance, but when I first came out and I said that I did my HR and marketing major at Griffith, you know what people here would say to me? Oh, you could do business in a book, HR in a book, because the Lebanese mentality is a bit, your son should be a scientist or an engineer or a doctor. I'm like, no, this is really important. So it's taken me a long time and trying to tell people that working with people is one of the most difficult things. So I've created now a platform, and with that platform, I'm getting out there, sharing that, and I'm getting there. I'm building, and also supporting She Cares Lab. It's an angel network to help people with disabilities, and in Lebanon as well. Unfortunately, people with different abilities are not seen. They're not given the education. They're not given the support.
So what does your program do to assist with that, Elizabeth?
What we're trying to do is ensure that they can get all the educational facilities. So, even those like very simple educational toys, they're very expensive here, unfortunately. Too expensive, and they don't have to be at all. And being able to also awaken in the minds of people what that's about, having special abilities and different abilities. It doesn't mean that it makes them any different. So working on that. So I'm working on different platforms in order to raise that awareness, what it's like, because it's like we're in a different time. And people often say to me, Elizabeth, you keep on trying. Do you think, stop trying to change the world or try to change, people won't change. I said, it's not about that. But as long as I'm confident in myself and if people want to join me, great. And if they don't, that's okay. At least I tried.
So it's amazing what can happen when you get the foundations right, Elizabeth. From having that solid educational basis, you've been able to go to Lebanon, which is a beautiful, incredible country, but as you say, surrounded by so much conflict, but able to communicate to the people, to the students that you have, the importance of education in the midst of that. I mean, that's an incredible achievement.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Even now, with our Lebanese lira and dollars, they can get US dollars. Just a quick example, if you want to buy a jar of Nutella here, it costs like about $30 now. So the students now feel that there's not much hope. They say, oh, Miss, stop telling us. Look at us. We're very corrupted and we can't seem to, to get out of this. And I keep saying to them, guys, we're making history. Even though we're in a pandemic, we're in COVID-19, what we do now is you guys are going to be able to tell stories later. So let's stick together. So I'll open up like little video chats with them and chats and send them stickers and get online and we'll do like yoga and they'll just laugh. And I say, come on, guys, we're in this together. And I think that's what it's about.
It shows you the importance of that perspective, keeping the long-term perspective of it, doesn't it, Elizabeth, that we are living through a historic time.
It is, and I think so, because every time, like, you'll see it on social media, the Spanish flu, we didn't learn the lessons, and it's like, okay, well, it's just about changing now. It's about changing how we do things, because mental health is very important, Nance. And in Lebanon, because we're in a lockdown, we're not getting out there. Businesses have closed. They're sitting at home. They can't afford things. There's a lot of fear that they can't even get flour and the basic essentials. So it's always about keeping that hope. And I'm doing that on a daily basis. And I think that that's just something that I really wanted to share with Griffith, that's what Griffith gave me. And I can say that with a lot of pride because it's an important part when you're first doing your bachelor's degree, the age that they're in. And I want to let them know, all those students that are going through that anything is possible. Anything at all, as long as you set your mind to it.
And that perhaps you don't have to know exactly where you're going to end up, Elizabeth. Is that part of it when you're doing your bachelor's degree?
I think just take it easy. Take it a step at a time, enjoy. Don't run to like do things, because I never thought that like I would get to Lebanon. Who said? I was born in Canada and I lived in Australia. But I just let things take me where they are. And then I just went day by day. And that's what I'm sharing with my students now. Just enjoy, don't run, walk. And that's really important. And that's what Griffith gave me. And that's what I think and I even know in Australia, they're going through things now. Studying online, at home, it's not easy. But we're making history, Nance. We are, you and I, all of us.
It's true. And it is something, as you've told your students, that we will be able to tell our generations after us about how we coped with COVID-19.
Exactly. And I even just think, even for like the young women, because I think wherever we go, domestic violence here is getting worse, Nance, because we're in a lockdown. It's horrific. And I know that that's there in Australia, but just to let people know that as long as you get your voice out there, we can get through this, talk to someone. It's really important. And that's something that I keep on sharing and saying that we can do this. And, in Lebanon, there's religious diversity and there's cultural diversity. So you got to be careful of how you say things. And I hope that I can keep on doing that no matter what happens.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Elizabeth. I think it's so encouraging on a number of levels. And it sounds like that lifelong learning has also been really important to you. You haven't really stopped from what you've said.
I haven't. No, I haven't stopped. I hope one day as a female, I'll get the chance to be in a position. I don't know if I will, because maybe being a woman, being a female, they in Lebanon, if you're emotional, you know what it's like worldwide. They don't think you as being assertive. They think that you're a female. She's a woman, and I'm just trying to break that. I think it's strength when you can show your emotion, and people are afraid of doing that. And I'm just saying, no, I'm confident. If I shed a tear, that means I have strength. That means that I'm confident to actually show you. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm only human. So yeah, maybe one day, Nance, I don't know. And if it doesn't, that's okay. I like what I'm doing now.
Well, and thank you for sharing with us what your journey. We'll be interested to see you, hopefully, when you come back to the Gold Coast to visit once this pandemic has settled a bit.
COVID. I will, and I will definitely. I always come onto campus every time I go back because I absolutely love it. And I thank you for your time, Nance, and thank you for allowing me to share my story in a little country very far away. But I just wanted to let everyone know that Griffith is a great place to be.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. No, it's wonderful to just remind people, like you say, you don't know where this degree can take you. It's just fantastic, isn't it? That's what education opens up for you. So many possibilities.
And I often say to people, just don't ever forget that your education, no one can take that away from you, Nance. It's for you. People can take away your money. People can take away the materialistic, but my education is for me, and no one will ever take that away. So the message for the students is just to get your education, even if it takes you a little while, even if you do it part-time, remotely, it doesn't matter. Just do it because you're value adding for you, and no one can ever take that away from you.
Elizabeth, thank you for joining us on Remarkable Tales.
Thank you, Nance.
That was Griffith University business graduate and assistant dean at Antonine University, Elizabeth Kassab Sfeir, speaking to me from her Lebanon home on Skype for this episode of Remarkable Tales. Remarkable Tales is a podcast production of Griffith University. It's produced by Nance Haxton. That's it for this episode of Remarkable Tales. I'm Nance Haxton. See you next time.